Hi everyone. Today I want to talk to you about a news story that has been fairly well known in England recently, but that may not be as well known in the rest of the world. You may or may not know that it was recently Bonfire Night here in the UK. I don't think it's celebrated much in the rest of the world, also known as Guy Fawkes Night. That's on the 5th of November every year, and this year some people decided to upload a video of themselves having a bonfire, as is customary to celebrate Bonfire Night, Guy Fawkes Night, and on the fire they put a cardboard box that was made up to look like Grenfell Tower. And Grenfell Tower, as you may or may not know, an apartment block, a block of flats that burnt down in London, I think just over a year ago. 72 people were killed. It was a big story at the time, and the 1 year anniversary that was fairly recently was in the news again. It was one of those stories that got picked up in the news and was a pretty sensitive topic. A lot of people felt very strongly about it. It wasn't an arson, by the way, it was an accident as far as we know. And fast forward to this year, where these people were having a bonfire burning a model of Grenfell Tower with little paper people in the windows, and they were laughing and they were telling jokes about, they were kind of mocking the people who were burning inside. They were kind of mocking the people who were dying, who were burning to death inside the building. The video went viral. A lot of people saw it, and of course it got into the news. And I do believe that it was people who were outraged by the video who were sharing it. But I don't think it was shared because people thought it was funny, although maybe there were some people doing that. I suspect, although I don't have any evidence, but I suspect the people who were sharing it were the people who were outraged by it. The first time I saw it was on Twitter, and a lot of the comments underneath were talking about how sick and disgusting these people were. And 5 of the men who were involved in the video handed themselves into the police shortly afterwards. And now I believe a 6th man has joined them. And it sounds like they may be prosecuted under the Malicious Communications Act, which is how Count Dankula, the Scottish guy with the pug, that's what he was prosecuted under. And I guess it's the Malicious Communications Act that I sort of want to talk about in this video, and just the idea of being offensive and hurting people's feelings, mocking vulnerable people who have died, and the people their family members who survived them, versus the issues of free speech that, if you watch the channel, you know I'm pretty passionate about. Most of the people who I've heard speak on this topic, not in the news, but just regular people, not people who agree with me either politically, just random people I work with, friends of mine, the consensus among just regular people of my sampling seems to be that it's offensive, right? What these guys did, the video and the action of burning this Grenfell Tower was offensive, and these guys were extremely insensitive. But that also, that should not be a criminal act. That should not be prosecutable as an offence. But anyway, I think that's pretty fair. The idea that you disagree with something, or that it's offensive to you, it may be extremely offensive to you and appear to you to be an evil act, does not mean that that thing should be illegal. I believe that the system of justice that many countries operate on, the free countries, they operate on a system of justice where you are punished for harming other people, for causing some kind of damage to another person. If you infringe on someone else's rights, their human rights, then you are held responsible for that, and your rights are forfeit to some extent. But in this case, although there was offence caused, there was no damage caused. The men in the video were not instructing anybody to burn anyone alive, for instance. They weren't trying to kill anyone. They didn't want to hurt anyone. It's not even clear if they wanted their video to be seen. As far as I know, that's not information that is available at the moment. We don't know whether they just sent this to a few friends and then it went from there. Maybe they posted it online, I don't know, but you can't even prove that they were trying to cause offence. Even if causing offence, was, in your opinion, a punishable offence, it can't be proven so yet, at least, that these people were trying to cause offence. They might have just been having a laugh. And although I don't agree with the way they chose to entertain themselves that night. I don't believe that they hurt anyone, and I don't even believe they're intending to hurt anyone. So no crime has been committed. But that kind of puts me in an awkward position where I'm defending people who I disagree with. It's pretty uncomfortable to put yourself on the side of someone who you don't like or who even disgusts you, and yet I do think it's somewhat important when talking about freedom, because although the people whose freedom is being taken away at the moment happen to be people you disagree with, it's still unfair for that to happen, and it will one day, it could come to you. The thought police might one day be at your door trying to arrest you for something that you thought was a joke. In Britain, in the UK, we have no constitution that explicitly protects our freedom of speech. I don't think that's a big deal. I don't think we explicitly need our freedom of speech protected. As long as it is protected, it doesn't matter if it's written down anywhere or not. But what we do have is hate speech laws and hate crimes. Hate speech is defined as inciting hatred for a group of people or for an individual because of their group status. So even though you may not be telling people to go out and commit crimes or to kill people or to hurt people, if you're accused of inducing a hatred in other people for a group, for a person because of their group status, then that is a hate crime. That is hate speech, as far as I understand it. This Malicious Communications Act is something separate it has all these words associated with it. I'll try to read it to you. 1988 is a British Act of Parliament that makes it illegal in England and Wales to send or deliver letters or other articles for the purpose of causing distress or anxiety. As you can probably tell, since it was made in 1988, it wasn't intended to be applied to YouTube. So the other articles in that statement, the letters and other articles, the other articles now covers YouTube. It now covers all forms of communication, tweets, emails. That's my understanding. What I also find interesting about that description is that it requires a purpose to be proven. It says that the purpose is to cause distress or anxiety. Although it says it only covers England and Wales, I still believe there is something similar in Scotland, which is Count Dankula, Marcus Meekin was prosecuted under, and the judge explicitly said that Count Dankula was purposefully inciting hatred against Jews by doing the skit with his pug and the Nazi saluting. I think it's very dangerous when you look at speech or expression or letters and YouTube videos and have to assume a purpose behind it that is required to prosecute a person. If you try to kill someone but you don't manage it, you can still be punished for trying to kill them because you had the intent to kill. And if you came at them with a knife and the only reason you stopped is because they shot you, then it's pretty easy to determine that your intent was to kill them. Although maybe not, right? It's not definite that maybe you were just trying to scare them. But it's much easier to determine somebody's intent and purpose in a case where they're committing what I'd call a real crime, an actual, a violent crime or a robbery or something, rather than proving that someone intended to cause harm by what they said. That seems like very dangerous territory to me. And of course it did prove to be dangerous for Count Dankula, and I expect for these gentlemen too, although their fate is yet unknown. I haven't heard anything about a trial being scheduled or anything like that. But it's disturbing to think that any video I make, for instance, if I criticise the wrong kinds of people or I make points that upset certain kinds of people, that perhaps that the courts could deem that I did that on purpose, and the purpose for my YouTube videos was to upset people. If people were upset, then they can infer that perhaps I was intending to commit harm, to cause stress or anxiety in other people. It's just vague. And I don't trust the legal system to make that discrimination properly. It's not that I think that the legal system is corrupt or that that they're conspiring against certain kinds of people. All I'm saying is that these systems of government and law enforcement, they're made up of human beings, and human beings can make mistakes. They can get swayed by, other people's opinions, and that you can't trust the government to look out for you because they have their own interests. And that's not me being a conspiracy theorist or anything. I'm just saying they're humans. They're not immune to corruption, and not just the literal corruption of being paid off or having some kind of special interest group. I'm talking about just a corruption of the soul, giving into dark temptations of or just giving into peer pressure. There's a lot that can go wrong with a judge, a jury, just any kind of law enforcement or government. And I don't want those people to be determining whether or not some words or some video or letter or email had a malicious intent behind it or not. If you violate another person's human rights, that's a crime. That's something that, and if you can prove that you did it, that you should be accountable for that. And to the point where it can be determined that you intended to do it, then the punishment should be harsher. We do still punish people for manslaughter, doing things accidentally. Thankfully, nobody's suggesting an equivalent of manslaughter for hate speech, where people could be accountable for accidentally hurting people's feelings or causing offence. I don't think I'm saying anything really surprising in this video. I'm just somewhat frustrated and a little bit worried about my country. I'm not going to pack up and move somewhere else. I guess I just wanted to check in with everyone else. I'd like to hear from the other Brits who watch this channel, hear what you think about this. The ability to criticize and mock anybody that you want is a beautiful thing in a free country. And I'd love to live in a country where I didn't have to worry about that being at stake. Even if the people who are being criticised and mocked don't deserve it. And in this case, they definitely don't. And I guess that's just all I have to say. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.